Hello, everyone. I'm Dr. Diane Hayden, and you are listening to The Dr. Diane Show. Stay with us for the next half hour where we explore revolutionary expansion of mind, body, and soul. Each time on The Dr. Diane Show, we have experts from around the country discussing cutting edge topics on longevity medicine, natural health, mindset, and soul purpose to help you shift your perspective and become a mindset warrior like me. I'm happy today to be joined by Dr. Jake Berman in Naples, Florida. Dr. Jake opened his physical therapy practice in 2015 and unintentionally started specializing in helping golfers with back pain get back out on the links. It was during this time that his patients would tell him that they were hitting the ball better now than they had in years, which is what ultimately led to the creation of the Berman Method of golf performance. Now, Dr. Berman specializes in helping aging golfers hit the ball farther off the tee, improve their ball striking, and ultimately play more frequently without nagging aches and pains. The Berman Method is trademarked, and unlike any other golf performance method out there today, Dr. Berman is a firm believer that just because you're getting older doesn't mean that you should lose excessive distance, and breaks it down to simply saying, move better and hit the ball farther. So, welcome, Dr. Jake. How are you today?
Great.
Awesome. So, we're going to bust some myths today. I love having you on because we always get into some really fascinating conversations about things. And I want to start with your part of your bio that you, quote, accidentally started a golf performance business. So, how does that accidentally happen?
Yeah, it's hilarious because naive me, I opened up my practice in 2015 thinking that my physical therapy practice, thinking that I was just gonna heal everybody. It didn't matter who you were, what age you were, I could heal you. I was the best manual therapist in town and I could just fix you. Uh, Very soon, I realized that the vast majority of my population was aging golfers with back pain. Who would have thought in Naples, Florida, that there would be an abundance of aging golfers with back pain? So I was essentially forced to get better at it and become the expert in it. And that's ultimately what led to, well, actually, then my patients started telling me they're hitting the ball better now than they had been in years. And that's when the light bulb went off. And I'm like, wait a minute, what if I did the same or similar intervention with somebody who didn't have back pain, a golfer who didn't have back pain? Would they start hitting the ball better? And super long story short, they did. And then over the next couple of years, I did my own case studies to see what was the exact interventions that yielded the greatest results specifically for aging golfers over the age of 60, because it's a very unique demographic because the body moves so much differently after the age of 60 than it does before the age of 60. And any golfer will tell you, or at least should tell you, if they don't, then they're on Mars or something, that yeah, my swing is very different today than it was when I was 30 or 40 or even 50. So that's ultimately how we ended up creating Berman Golf, or opening up Berman Golf, and trademarked the Berman Method of golf performance.
I love it. I mean, like talk about just finding a niche in the market and something that people need and want. And you basically kind of stumbled into it and no, now are making a whole career out of it. So that's really cool. What is the magic number about 60? Like what is it about that all of a sudden changes people in terms of, we're talking about golf specifically, but it's probably relatable to other sports as well.
The biggest difference is flexibility and muscle imbalances. So once you hit 60, it becomes really pronounced, meaning that it's almost like the straw that broke the camel's back. Your body's really resilient at wear and tear, and you torturing it, running it wet, or riding it wet, or riding it hard and getting put up wet. I think that's the
Yeah.
saying.
What is that saying?
Yeah. So your body's really good and resilient at wear and tear and damage up until a point, and it's usually around 60 when it just says, you know what, I just can't do this anymore. And that's when golfers, particularly golfers, start experiencing aches and pains and limitations, and they start altering their swings. And then before you know it, within the course of 5 years, they've lost 20, sometimes 40, 50 yards off the tee in a very short amount of time. And it's extremely frustrating and depressing, and they just hate it. But that's usually what it is. It comes down to a flexibility issue and a muscle strength and balance issue, meaning that the muscles that should be strong are not strong, and the ones that shouldn't be strong are strong.
Hmm. It makes perfect sense because, so many people that I know, even my friends that are, some of them that are in their 50s and 60s, are none of them lift weights. And it's making me crazy because I'm like, you need to lift weights. Like, I'm promising you that you're going to wake up one day and be like, you're going to have surgery for something, or you're going to have some sort of aches and pains or whatever. And a lot of that could be avoided if you just keep those muscles strong. So, one of the things I think people probably do is they think, oh, well, my golf game's getting worse. I'll just go take golf lessons. And that might be like, the logical conclusion, I guess. But you say that for people that have this issue over 60, golf lessons don't work.
Oh, I love it because this is a major conflict thing where I've really ruffled some feathers with this one, where I'm publicly going out and screaming off the top of my lungs saying golf lessons do not work for you if you're over the age of 60. And the reason why you're going to get golf lessons is for one of the following three. If you're over the age of 60 and get in a golf lesson to try to gain distance, just drive down the road and throw your money out the window. It's not going to work. If you're over the age of 60 and you're getting a golf lesson to improve your ball striking, do the same thing. Or maybe better yet, just pull it out of your pocket, hold it in one hand, and then the other hand, fire up a lighter and just watch it go up in flames, because it's just not going to work. And then the third one is the worst one. If you're over the age of 60 and you're going to get golf lessons because you can't get through a round without aches and pains, and specifically back pain, oh my gosh, come on. This is not what you should be doing, because you have to understand this is not a knock on golf professionals. I'm not trying to diss them in any way, shape, or form. What I'm trying to say is golf professionals are not biomechanic experts. They are experts in technique, in golf philosophy. They're really good at the golf swing and the philosophy behind it, and the techniques and the grip and all of the stuff that goes behind it. But they're not an expert in biomechanics. That's me. I'm an expert in biomechanics. So I'm the one that can help you move your body better. Once your body can move better, then go get a golf lesson, and it will not be a waste of your time or your money. So one of the most common things that I hear is aging golfers over the age of 60, that leave lessons more frustrated than when they got there. And the problem is because you're going to the golf lesson and your pro is pulling up this video of Tiger Woods or somebody off of the tour, and they're saying, see this swing right here? You see his position at the top of the backswing? Now, putting it side by side to your position at the top of the backswing. We need to get yours to look like this one, or McElroy or something. They're always comparing your swing to somebody that's on the tour. And I'm going, what planet do you live on? This is 72-year-old Bob, who hasn't done anything athletic in his life other than swing a golf club. And you're comparing it to this 30-year-old kid who works out and golfs 45 to 60 hours a week. I mean, you
Yeah.
can't do this.
And then you've got people getting so caught up and frustrated in trying to copy a technique that now they're not really they're not in their body anymore, right?
What is
They're
it?
like, oh, I have to match this, try to figure out once you start, especially with golf. I think it's with a lot of sports, but I think once you get in your head about something, forget it. You're not going to get better. You're probably going to start making more mistakes or get worse.
Exactly. So if you let me trail or piggyback on that, one of the things that people have to understand that it's really hard for you to comprehend it at first is I don't care at all about technique. I don't care if you've got the most prettiest, the most beautiful inside out swing on the planet, or you got this horrendous looking swing that's over the top and just looks like a complete disaster. What I do care about is your body's ability to reproduce it every single time, because the most important thing in golf is consistency. So if you can consistently hit a massive banana slice every single time, massive banana slice, you can easily shoot in the low 80s, if not 70s, because all you do is you're going to aim left every single time, and you're going to slice that bad boy right back into the fairway, right onto the green. The problem is that you hit a massive banana slice, and then the next shot you line up assuming you're going to hit a banana slice, and you hit the dreaded straight ball. So it doesn't matter how good or how bad your swing is. What does matter is consistency, and that's what I specialize in. That's what the Berman method is all about, giving your body the ability to do it over and over and over again.
So tell us a little bit about it. What can people expect? Like, how did you develop this method, and what do you do with people when they come in to work with you?
Love it. So when I interview my clients at the end of a program, I usually see people for 20 to 30 sessions, and we'll call that the end of a program. And I'll do a testimonial with them at the end. And every single one of them says the same thing in slightly different words when I ask them, what's the biggest thing you got out of this? And they say, body awareness. Now I know what it feels like to activate my core and glutes. Now I know what it feels like to get a proper shoulder turn. Now I know what it feels like to initiate the downswing with my body and not my arms. So the biggest thing people get is body awareness. And the way that I help people do it is with my doctorate of physical therapy. I was taught how to do what is called neuromuscular reeducation. It's essentially being able to retrain your brain how to control the muscles that you already have. And the simplest way to think about this is if you're a righty, you've been writing with your right hand your entire life. So you could turn the lights off, be in a dark closet, and you could essentially write an entire paper and turn the lights back on, and it would be legible. But if you try to do the same exact thing with your left hand, it would be a disaster. You've got the same exact muscles in your right hand as your left hand, but the problem is your brain doesn't know how to control those muscles in your left hand like it does your right hand. That's called motor control. So when I go through and train your brain how to control those muscles in your left hand, then you can write a paper in the dark. That's neuromuscular reeducation. Retrain your brain how to control the muscles that you have. This is where people go wrong with golf lessons. Is your golf pro, your coach is telling you to get into this position, but your brain has no idea what it feels like to get there. You consciously, conceptually know what you're trying to do, but your brain is going, this, what do you want me to do? Like, I don't know what you want me to do. So you don't have the body awareness to do it. And that's ultimately where it all goes to crap and people leave more frustrated versus when you come and see me, got this technique or this method where I cut out the interpretation phase, where I don't tell you to do something, then you have to interpret it and then do it. I just put you into a position and I say, okay, now don't let me move you. And then you just react. So that cuts out the interpretation phase, and it allows your brain to get it much quicker, and I essentially learn what it should feel like in that position. So I try to keep that as fifth grade reading level as possible. Did I go too far in the weeds?
No, not at all. No, it makes perfect sense.
Okay.
Yeah. As far as like strength, because one of the things you mentioned was one of the like an issue might be muscular strength in a particular area. That's why, someone who's older is their game is getting worse or whatever. They're not improving because of decreases in muscular strength. But I've talked to a lot of golfers and different types of athletes, and some will say like, "Oh, I don't want to lift weights, or I don't want to, do anything with my, change my strength or whatever because it's going to screw up my golf game." But what I'm hearing from you is exactly the opposite, right?
Yeah, I mean, it's so silly. It's so old school. It's such an old school thought process that I don't want to go lift these weights because it's going to mess up my golf swing. If you're that worried about it, you should be watching that show on Netflix, the whatever, I don't even remember what it's called, but it's where they documented the PGA Pro tours or the pros on the PGA Tour. And one of the first or second episodes of that series, it shows three of the guys right after a round of golf in one of the biggest tournaments. They leave the golf course and go straight to the gym, and they're pushing around some serious weights. And it's like, come on, man. You've got to be able to move your weight around. You have to. You got to be able to get down on the ground and get back up again. Or if you can't do that, how are you going to tee the ball up? How are you going to align your ball on the putting green? The way you're going to do it is you're going to bend over with horrible mechanics and stress the crap out of your back. You're going to do that you're going to do it 2 times every hole because you have to tee the ball up and you got to move it on the green. So that's twice for 18 holes. So 36 times a day, you're going to put all of this stress on your back, and then you're going to wonder why it gives out on you. I mean, come on, you got to be able to have strong enough legs to get down on the ground and get back up again without stressing your back.
Yep. Makes total sense, and like what you said, technique is irrelevant if your body is incapable of getting into those positions.
Correct.
And also, recruit the correct muscles in those positions. So it's just a different philosophy of thinking about it, I think, and kind of getting out of that mindset of well, this is the way I was taught, or this is the way the golf pros teach me, or this is my preconceived notion about lifting weights or whatever. All of that's just shifting the mentality around it.
Correct.
Yeah, definitely. And I like it because I feel like, so many people that are older, like I said, are they've never gotten into a strength training program. They think that I can tell you how many people have said to me if they're over the age of 60, oh, there's no point in lifting weights because, I'm too old. I won't be able to build muscle. And I know that's not true, but and many people who've heard me talk about exercise physiology and my background, my doctorate, my program was actually working with 70 to 85-year-olds on a strength training program. And so, what was the whole purpose of that? Basically, to prove that it didn't matter what age you were, you could still build muscle and, increase your metabolism, and just showing all different kinds of changes in muscle fiber and all that kind of stuff. So, I think our oldest subject was 87 or 88, and that person still put on muscle mass.
Till the day you die.
Yep, it's crazy, right?
To the day you die, your body has the ability to gain muscle mass or hypertrophy, get stronger.
Yep, absolutely, absolutely. So hopefully more people are getting on that bandwagon and understanding that. Anything else that you want our listeners to know just about what you do with your golf method and how they can work with you?
The biggest thing I want people to understand is that losing significant distance off the tee is not a normal part of aging, meaning that when we did this podcast for my physical therapy practice, I had a very similar philosophy, which is pain is not a normal part of aging. It's the same thing with golf. You don't have to keep moving up tees every single year and getting senior um, stiffness calf.
Handicaps.
Yeah, and just it doesn't have to be that way. And the reason why is because I'm not talking about lifting 300 pounds and gaining a ton of muscle strength. What I'm talking about is functional strength. And here's the number one most common thing that I see with my demographic, golfers over the age of 60, even the ones that think they're in good shape. On day one, I ask you to do some tests. Two of the tests, or one of the tests is stand on one leg, specifically your right leg. If you're a right-handed golfer, I want you to stand on your right leg and just balance there. See if you can make it 60 seconds. 90 to 95% of people can't even make it 10 seconds.
I
So
believe it.
we're not talking about a balance thing. We're actually talking about a strength thing because strength is what gives you balance. A lot of people think that I just have bad balance, I'm getting old. No, you're weak. That's why you have bad balance. You have to have strength to have balance. You can't have balance without strength. So that's number one. And then number two that I have people do on day one is I say, okay, get down on the ground without your hands and then get back up again without your hands. So many people can't even get down or they're scared. It's like, no, I'm going to fall. And then even if they can get down, they can't get back up off the ground again without using their hands to push off of their knee. And I'm going, wait a minute, you want to hit the ball farther. You're telling me that you've lost 50 yards in the past 5 years and that you've tried everything to try to get more distance, but you can't even elevate your body weight against gravity? It's like, what planet are you on? So again, I'm not talking about going in the gym and trying to be a bodybuilder. What I think both of us are talking about is just simple functional mobility. You've got to be able to get down on the ground again and get back up again. One of the easiest ways to do that is by strength training, lifting weights, do some leg presses, do some squats. Let's move some weight around and actually move better. So those are the things that I want people to really understand is you're trying to ask for something, but you're not really understanding that you're asking for, what am I saying? You're trying to ask for something that's way on the moon and you haven't even started crawling yet.
Right.
So that's number one. And number two is this. This is the most simplest thing. Stop trying to compare your amateur 70-year-old golf swing to anybody on the TV. Just stop. Even the guys that are teaching on TV, just stop. There's a reason why they're on TV. It's because they're the best. And it's because that's all they do. They practice all day long. So anybody that's trying to compare their swing to somebody on TV, I always ask them this question. It's the first question. Okay, yeah, so you want to try to get into that position. How many hours a week do you practice? And they always look at me funny because they know where I'm going with this. The answer is always less than 5 hours a week. It's usually,
Zero.
yeah, it's usually one at the most.
Yeah.
Most of them say, well, I go to the range before I play around. And I'm like, that's not practice.
Right.
That's warming up. So if you're trying to compare yourself to somebody on TV or something that you saw in golf.com or golf magazine, whatever it is, but you're practicing less than 5 hours a week, it's not going to happen. I mean, it's just not reality. So those are the two biggest things that really drive me nuts is people that can't move their own body weight around, yet they want to hit the ball farther. And then the other person that's spending hours and hours and hours on YouTube and then watching all these clips on the golf channel and saying, I think I need to get more shoulder turn. If I could get more shoulder turn, I could get more club head speed. If I could get more club head speed, the ball's going to go farther. And I'm going, wait a minute. What about the fundamentals? You've got no core activation. Your glutes are hibernating right now, and you're trying to get into this contorted position that some 30-year-old kid's doing on the tour? Come on.
Next thing they'll have a rotator cuff issue.
Seriously. And they wonder why they're getting aches and pains.
Yeah, it's so interesting that you bring up the whole practice thing because I feel like people get to a certain age and they don't practice anything. Like who even thinks about practicing their sport, right? Like it's, oh, I'm just gonna go out and do it. I'm just gonna go out and play tennis or I'm just gonna go out and play golf, but no one's really spending time practicing anything, right? It is crazy when you think about it like that.
And then they get frustrated when their handicap keeps getting worse and worse and worse. It's
Yep.
like, okay, well, what did you do to try to fix it other than go to the 19th hole?
Right. Yeah, exactly. And the other point I wanted to make about just strength and balance and all that, I think that what we're finding is with people who are older who have falls and accidents and things like that, you're right. I don't think it is a balance issue. I think it's a strength issue. I mean, if you don't lift weights, your muscle, what do they, how much do they say you're going to lose like, I forget what it is every decade, 10%, 15%, something like that for every decade after 40 or 50 or whatever it is. Um, you're basically walking around on bones with like no musculature. What do you think supports your vertebrae? It's your muscle. And so these people just, get older, don't lift weights, don't eat right, aren't eating enough protein. We didn't even get into the whole nutrition discussion behind how people could improve their golf game, right? Like, we're talking about just the biomechanics and exercise physiology part of it. But yeah, I mean, if you don't maintain that muscle or grow that muscle, how do you expect it to support your skeleton?
You're on the moon, you're on Mars, you're on some other planet other than our planet. It just doesn't make sense when you put it down on paper. It's like, what are you thinking?
Yep.
But, at the end of the day, it's easy for you and me to sit here and say this because this is our expertise. It's not easy for Joe Schmo or Bob to understand it because they just don't get it. They're an expert in finance or an expert in law or something else. We're experts in the human body, so it's easy for us. The most important part is for us to try to put out as much simple information as possible for people to digest, because if it's not on a fifth grade reading level, the vast majority of the population is not going to try to understand it. They're just not, because it's not their expertise. So that's what I'm trying to do. All of my YouTube videos are all as simple as I can possibly make them. There's no big words in them or crazy techniques. It's do this, then do this, and it will get better. And it's actually working. I'm getting a ton of good feedback, a ton of older people. I say older, a ton of people that are over the age of 60. They're responding to me and saying, I feel better now. I'm moving better. I have more confidence. All of these positive side effects to doing these simple things for their golf game are translating into other day activities in life. So I think that we just keep going in the right direction, one person at a time, and it'll work.
Yeah. Yeah, that's amazing too. I mean, I didn't even think about it from that perspective as far as how it's going to help them just in their daily life. I mean, obviously you're doing these things that are helping them learn more about their biomechanics and understand it and feel it, like you were saying, body awareness, feeling what certain things, how certain positions feel and what's working, what's not working, and then, hopefully they're doing strengthening exercises. Yeah, it's going to have a huge effect on their life, not just their golf game.
Correct.
So that's awesome. So, how can listeners learn more about you or reach out to you? What contact information do you want to give us?
The easiest one is bermangolf.com. You can go there and you can see everything that we have. I wrote a book, The Berman Method of Golf Performance, where I just outline it. Super easy read. It's an airplane read and full of tons of useful information and immediately actionable steps. That's also on the website. But our YouTube channel is really where it's at. Go search Berman Golf on YouTube, and we've got a ton of videos on there, and I am not censored on there at all. So if you want a good laugh and some good content, check out Berman Golf on YouTube and all the other socials too. I mean, Facebook, Instagram, TikTok. I think we're even on Pinterest. We're everywhere.
Yeah, I was just checking out your Mullet Monday, and that's pretty funny if you guys haven't seen that before. Awesome. So it's Berman Golf. That's BermanGolf.com for people to reach out to you and find you. And you've got great articles in our Essential Naples magazine. You can get that at essentialnaples.com. Jake always has a couple articles on physical therapy and golf. I think what was the recent one? Something about hitting the distance further, right? Driving the golf further. And the
Yeah,
one before that was golf lessons don't work. So they're good. They're funny. They're good. They're educational. And yeah, we appreciate what you're doing because, like I said, it's helping people a lot more in just everyday life in addition to improving their golf game. So thank you for everything you do, Jake, for sure. And thanks for being on the show. Again, you can find Dr. Jake Berman at www.bermangolf.com. And thanks everybody for tuning in to the Dr. Diane Show. We will see you again next time.